Welcome to the 2025 Asia Pacific Photography Awards Wedding Category Top 10 Live Judging. This category is for photographs captured before, during, or after a genuine wedding with people. Images may include single persons, couples, or groups, and may include animals. The main focus of the image should be people-related and wedding-related, such as, but not limited to, hen stag party, wedding ceremony or reception, engagement shoot, or trash the dress session. The image should include people, but may include pets or animals and surroundings that give context to the story of the image. Entries may be traditional and or interpretive. My name is Sarah McGregor and I will be your panel chair. We have a wonderful panel of judges joining us today. We have Johan van Kaan, Angela Eastwood, Joe Francis Moore, Simone Jackson and Faru Yavari. We're going to start the category with a run through of the top 10 images. Thank you. Can we have the first image, please? Thank you to our panel. We have a silver award at 81. Can I have a comment, please, from one of the judges? Johan?
Sure. Lovely moment captured. Great timing. Just would have been so much better if the opportunity had been there to have a different background. That fence through the little bridesmaid and just the vertical lines behind the bride. They're just a little bit distracting from what's actually a really good moment. Well seen and well caught.
Thanks, Johan. Can we have the next image, please? Judges, we have a score of 80, which is a silver award. Congratulations to the photographer. Joe, do you want to comment on this one?
Yeah. It's a really interesting scene, and it's very dramatic and sort of cinematic, but I guess what let it down for me is I feel like it's a better photo of the window than it is of the couple. Their pose feels quite static and unresolved for me, but I think it'd be a great place to go back and explore more variation in the posing. I also don't know that the massive wide crop is really doing it any favors.
Thanks, Joe. Can we have the next image, please? Thank you, judges. We have a score of 81. That is a silver award. Congratulations to the photographer. Simone, do you want to comment on this one?
Yes, huge congratulations. I think the photographer's done a really fantastic job of just trying to marry up the images as best they can to look as symmetrical as they can as well, because obviously it would have been at least maybe an hour in between the sequence. Everything about this I think is just fantastic. As to maybe improving it, I'm just wondering about maybe a little bit more connection there between him with his hands down, just quite not, it doesn't look as though he's almost looking a little bit like he does this every day. Something just a little bit more with him would have been quite nice, but at the same time it could have been a first look. He might have turned around and looked at her, but overall fantastic, and congratulations.
Thanks, Simone. Can we have the next image, please? Judges, we have a silver award at 80. Could we hear from Angela, please?
Congratulations to the entrant. I really enjoyed the merry path leading us in of lights leading us into that that moment with the couple. I think you've done a great job with the lighting, illuminating them from behind. To improve, there's a perhaps don't need as much of the wide frame. There's a few distracting elements off to the sparkles in the side of the image that take you away from that more central focus there.
Simone, did you want to add something to that?
Yeah, just as a little bit of critique to the photographer, congratulations on your silver award. It's just fantastic. I'm just thinking just of that little bit light behind them that was illuminating them, that if you could maybe just take that away in post, could have actually helped strengthen the image, and even bringing out them a little bit more, especially in their face. Little tiny things to tidy up, like that seat on the left and the distraction halfway down. Little things like that would have just helped polish this image up a little bit more for a few more points.
Thanks, Simone. Can we have the next image, please? Thanks, judges. We have a score of 82. That is a silver award. Congratulations to the photographer. Jo, do you want to comment on this one?
Yeah, this is just such a delightful little image. It's such a beautiful sense of anticipation. And you know, it feels very authentic. I think to improve it, it just needs a little bit more control. I think some of the highlights need to come down, and I think it might be improved by a tighter crop, because there's elements around the edge of the photo that are all quite distracting, when really all we want to see is that woman and the two figures on the left-hand side coming in to greet her. Yeah.
Thanks, Jo. Can we have the next image, please? The image scores an 84, which is a silver award. Jo, where are you? Do you want to challenge that, Jo?
Yep. Oh no, I'll challenge.
Thank you.
I think this one's worth talking about. This is just such a cool photo. I gave this an 88. I put it right in the bang in the middle of silver distinction. I feel like you've got 5 great performances here. Men can be really hard to photograph and really hard to have them looking like they're really playing the part, but all 5 of these guys have really come into the moment. Even all their hands are well posed. Men's hands are so hard to get right, but every one of these men has got his own attitude. And yeah, and then the whole thing is just really nicely framed within the room. You've even got the little doorway at the top and the side on the right hand side, and the quirkiness of the room with this old-fashioned carpet and old-fashioned print. I think it's a It's a really fun, well put together, well crafted picture of a groom and his men.
Thanks, Jo. Fabri, could we hear from you?
Yes, thank you, Joe, for the challenge. I think this image. I really enjoyed the gangster feeling of this image, like the groom and all his best friends around him, and the way they are standing and sitting and just holding their hand is like they are ready to protect him. So that's the feeling of gangster. To me, I think the lighting is very well handled. I gave it 82, and the only thing that hold me to sit in silver, I feel like I can read the text in the door. I feel like if it would be a slightly different angle or turn to the right, photographer could easily ignore that or in some way to make it a bit invisible. Otherwise, it's a beautiful image. It's really well captured.
Thanks, Fabri. Johan, can we hear from you, please?
Yeah, for me, the text on the door actually makes the photograph. This is the anti-room, and that's what gangsters are. You know, they're anti-establishment, anti-other things. And this is the room within which they're contained. How clever to include that, I thought. So for me, that text on its own is a lot of the strength in the image, along with the posing and the hands and the handling of the black and white elements.
Thanks, Johan. Back to you, Jo.
So ante-room means a small room leading to the main one. Basically, it's a waiting room. And this is what these guys are doing. They're waiting to walk with this man on the most epic part of his journey. I agree with you, Johan. I think it nails it. I think it really gives us that little nugget just to kind of add into the story. And yeah, I get gangster, but I also get a gentleness from these gentlemen. I get this this feeling of, yeah, mate, we got you. And we're here for you. And yeah, I think it's really beautifully. And you know what I really love about this? Each one of these guys has got a different expression, even though they're wearing sunglasses and we can't see their eyes. We get their feelings. Like this guy on the left, he's quite tentative. He's a little bit worried about getting it right, but the guy sitting down, he's just chill as. I just love the fact that all 5 of these characters, their personalities have been really allowed to come through, even though they have been styled and they have been posed. Yeah, I think if you were this groom, wouldn't this just be the most magnificent thing to have large on your wall? It's a cool piece of art, but it's also very personal. So yeah, let's give it a nudge into Silver Distinction, simply for the fact that it is all about the waiting.
Thanks, Jo. Can I have the judges rescore, please? And we have a silver with merit at 86.
Wow.
Congratulations to the photographer. Thank you to the panel. Can we have the next image, please? The image has an initial score of 87, which is a silver with merit, but we do have a challenge from Angela Eastwood. Angela, you want to talk about this one?
Yeah. Wow, it's such an amazing, grandiose image. I think that the photographer has just captured a really wonderful pose with the bride as well, and even though she is so small in this space, I think that her posing, and you can almost see that expression on her face, it has enough presence to fill her space in that room. So she still is the focus, despite this being in such a grand venue. I'm just really enjoying the contrast with the light hitting her and the darkness all around. Yeah, I think sorry, I gave this a 90, so just sneak that into the gold. just because I think it's so beautiful and well handled, and it's not something I've seen before.
Thank you. Joe, can we hear from you, please?
I gave this a silver, solid set 82. For me, this is all about light and shape, and the light is beautiful, but the beauty of this woman has been, for me, this is in her shape and the way the light's hitting her, and the flowers to me are just ruining that. I just feel like they are so clunkily held there that they're sort of ruining the beautiful shape of this woman. And I feel like that's where the strength of this photo really is in the shapes and the way the light is hitting those shapes.
Thanks, Joe. Simone.
Yeah, I gave this an 88, which I thought was a really good solid silver with merit. And I'm thinking I was being probably a little bit mean on it. I think the way the photographer has chosen to place this bride in the only available light that would have been big enough to take advantage and be brave enough to use it in sun and shade. Anywhere else in the room, she just wouldn't have been highlighted enough. And also, even for the point that there's actually more brightness behind there. So I think the photographer's really obviously got great confidence with using light. When it comes to the flowers being in her, yeah, I can see that it's I also admire the braveness of the photographer choosing this image as opposed to the next posed image. You can tell the photographer just said, okay, let's pop yourself into some really beautiful light here, which that is the only available area. And she could tell the bride's just starting to floof her dress and get it right. So it was like the before the pose one, and I think that's even better. I mean, as photographers, we just don't get enough time now to really take advantage of documenting imagery and the creatives anymore. So I think the photographer did a great job here. So I'm definitely going gold.
Thanks, Simone. Johan, are you wanting to talk, or are you looking at the
Yes.
photo? You want to talk?
I'd like to talk.
Go for it.
I looked at the flowers, and aside from their heart of darkness, I think they serve a very important purpose in reflecting light up back into the bride's face. So if the flowers had not been there, there would have been more shadow, I believe, on the face. However, I could be wrong on that, but I feel like there's a rule there that I have that you should always bend an elbow, but in this case, that rule is broken in such a wonderful way because it drags your eye down into the darkness there, and it's quite beautiful. And the face, the parts that you can see her happiness. And then if you go back out and you realize how inconsequential she is in the larger image, but important, the use of the repeated pattern on the posts, the image is so beautifully balanced. I think it's spectacular. I gave it an 88, and I'm talking myself up already.
Thanks, Johan. Faru would like to say something as well. We are talking about gold, so
Yeah, I really agree with anything my fellow photographer said, Simon and Johan. To add to that, I wanted to say that especially in a wedding day, especially in the location, this is all about the light and shadow, where we can find the best spot to put the bride and groom in that perfect spot to create such a beautiful, timeless and memorable image for them. And I think photographer did really well done here to find this spot, because this spot is really elegant. And photographer wants to deliver this elegancy about this spot and work with the beautiful bride and the location and the spot, elegancy, classic moment. The lighting is coming through, the repetition of the I don't know what's the word here, but the stone, the vertical line, I can say it, all over the image, and especially the reflection of the light in the bottom, all come together for creating such a stunning and amazing composition here. So the flower here is a really small thing, and I feel that like the flower, the bouquet is a bit busy, and maybe intentionally photographer gave the bride in that position or guide her somewhere to kind of hide the flower here. I think the overall image is really sits well. I give it 87 and I'm really coming up as well.
Thanks, Fru. Back to you.
Am I able to make another point?
Yes, Johan.
The other thing that two things I want to say. One is the control of the blacks has been outstanding, and that you can just see enough detail in them to make them interesting. And secondly, the photographer has gone to the trouble to make vertical lines vertical, and should be applauded for that, because so many photographers don't bother. That was it.
Thanks, Johan. Angela, back to you.
Yeah, it sounds like I've got some good support there, which is great. I agree. I think the flowers potentially are a little distracting, but I think that they're there for a reason, as Johan said. I think without those there, that side of her face would have been lost in shadow, and you potentially wouldn't have seen that beautiful expression on her face and what you can see. And the strength and the repeated images and shapes. You might see the shape formed between her body and her arm. That negative space there is repeated in the light hitting the columns further along the row as well. So there's lots of repeated patterns, and yeah, photographer's done a brilliant job, and I think deserves to get a gold for this.
Thanks, Angela. Can we have the judges rescore, please? And we have a gold award at 91. Congratulations to the photographer. Great discussion from the panel. Can we have the next image, please? Thank you, judges. We have a score of 79. Jo, do you want to challenge this one?
Yeah, I think I better do that.
Thank you.
I gave this an 84. For me, there is such a story of tenderness to this. Like there's a lot of dark to this photo, so it's easy to sort of not even see how beautiful and sweet and tender the center is. I would love to have seen this cropped and tied. I'm not really sure what the huge amount of darkness is about, but the look between these two and the way they're just being picked out in the light there with the little stars behind them, there's such a gentleness, such a love, such a tenderness. And such a stillness. And I think if you think about wedding days, they're always so busy, so chaotic, and to capture this just little moment where these two are just in love with each other and just being with each other, I think it's really precious.
Can you tell us what your score was, Jo?
Oh yes, I gave it 84.
Thank you. Fru, can we hear from you?
Yes, I give it 75, highly commended, because of the very well posed and the tenderness. I can see what you mean, Jo. There's their privacy, their moment, their love, and I think that one is captured well. However, I think the backlighting is not really well handled. Almost if it was a ring light around the body, that's the technique we use to actually deliver it. We can't see any ring light around the back of the groom or the bottom of them, and we lost so many details in that very dark area. There is patchiness happen on the floor as well, and I think it's happened because of so low light and not during the post-production. And as you mentioned that, I think compositionally it's really off. It's a bit off because we have lots of negative, very dark, heavy space around them, and the bottom is really crop tied. But I think photographer, in terms of their moment, they capture very well.
Thanks, Fru. Johan, you are in support with Jo on 82.
Okay, so I gave it 82. I loved it for the stillness that it had. I acknowledge what you're saying, Faru, and I'll probably add to your argument in that I felt that the dealing with the overexposure on the background beams and posts wasn't the greatest. But if you don't pick too much and nitpick too much, and you just sit with the image and enjoy the moment, the place you go to is the place where the feeling is the most intense. And there's a lot of support for that. The internal framing, the fact that their noses aren't quite touching, creates a tension. So I think the photographer has delivered pretty well. And I gave them 82. And all it's going to take is somebody else with an 8 at the beginning of their number, and we're there. Because otherwise we have to debate this anyway, don't we? And it's actually quite lovely.
Thank you, Johan. Jo, back to you.
I loved what you said there, Johan. Thanks for that. Yeah, for me, this is all about holding space. Like everything about it makes me feel like these two people are holding space for each other, which really, if you think about weddings and marriage, is what we all aspire to. The fact that they're enclosed within a picked out space, as Johan has said, plus that little gap between them, they're just equally gently holding space for each other. And I think that's really successful from a wedding photography perspective, to capture that feeling, that emotion that these two want to take forward into their lives. And yes, I 100% agree with just about everything you said, Faru. There are lots of technical things that I would like to make better in this picture. But as Johan says, we're not asking for moonbeams. We're just asking for a silver. So just let your heart speak to this one, guys, and let's give it a silver.
Thanks, Jo. Can we have the judges rescore, please? And we have a silver award at 80. Congratulations to the photographer. Can we have the next image, please? Thank you, judges. We have a score of 82. Faru, do you want to challenge that one?
Yes, I wanted to challenge this beautiful, stunning image. We have an image of a very beautiful, obviously bright, and the dress is stunning. And the photographer actually cleverly put the bright and play with the shadow and the shape of the mountain in the background. We have foreground of the bright, midground is a heavy shadow, and background is a lighter shadow, the mountain and the sky. So we have layers of foam and texture and shadow and highlight here, and that's, I think it's really pushed me to sit in the silver Marriott, which I give it 86. And I think the pose is beautiful. The back of the dress is beautifully worked with the shadow and the shape in the background. I think she's in her spotlight, and she's bright, she's shiny. I feel like the dress in the back is a bit overexposed. I can see it, but if everything was very well handled, definitely I would sit in gold range. Yeah, I'm looking forward to hear you guys.
Thanks, Faru. Johan, do you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, I do. I agree with you about the beauty in this image. I think there's a stunning elegance there, a style, and I loved so many things about it. I particularly love the top 2/3 where you have that lovely, beautiful mountainous softness through the background, and that gradation going down from light through to dark without much detail, but it's what a beautiful background to be working with. my little bugbears were the things that threw me off. I could be talked out possibly not to distinction. I felt that the bottom part of the image is almost too detailed. The detail in the rocks, the detail in the grass, the folds in the bottom of the fabric, which would have been beautiful if they'd been smooth without the contours and the ripples. And then my bugbear, which I might have mentioned at another time, is the bride has her arm perfectly straight, forcing the flowers away from her. If she'd had just a gentle fold in her elbow, just the smallest one, it would have made it more flowing, and would have taken some of the tension out of the look. It is a stunning image, and it's a wonderful graphic with all that white and things. Yeah, but I'm listening. I gave it a 78, but keep talking.
Thanks, Johan. Joe's got her hand up.
Yeah, to me, this woman is a bird about to take flight. I can't tell you what bird she is because my daughter ever hears me, she'll tell me I've got it wrong. But everything about this is really quirky. To me, this really is probably a really accurate portrait of this woman. They haven't just got her smiling at the camera. They haven't got her, you know, holding her bouquet in a sort of sweet saccharine way. They've got this power to her. And there's a simplicity and almost an old world grandeur to her. And I feel like as a portrait of a bride, this is quite powerful and quite unique. And it does have that fashion element, but more than anything, it's got this sort of grandeur, this sort of taking flight feel for me. And yeah, I think it's really successful. I agree that if there had been a little bit more handling of some of the tones, that might have gone gold. But I've given it, I think, an 82, and I'm going to come up to distinction with you, Faru.
Thanks, Joe. Back to you, Faru.
Thank you, Joy. I really love the bear text flight. I feel like that, especially because she is in a rock, and it's a bit scary. She could fall down. So bravo to the photographer that give the risk to pose her. I wanted to bring attention. She's really well posed, but it's so natural. It's not like the bouquet should be in that area and just like turn your face. She's her own herself. She's enjoying the moment. She's ready to fly. And I think, Johan, I see lots of details, and I appreciated all the details because life is tough. And she's in the spotlight of her tough life, and she's ready to start a new life. And the softness of the bride, the beauty, curve, shape of you mentioned something so beautiful. I forgot your word, Johan. But the whole softness, elegant of the bride against of the toughness, the texture, the grandeur of the mountain and the rock is really well spotted. I think it's really this image is very beautifully done, and I can't take anything from it except admire it. And yeah, let's see what you can do. I believe that it's really sitting silver with Marriott.
Thanks, Faru. Can we have the judges rescore, please? And Faru, re-enter your 86. Thank you, judges. We have a silver with merit at 85. Congratulations to the photographer. Can we have the next image, please? Thank you, judges. We have a silver award at 80. Congratulations to the photographer. Can I have a comment from one of the judges, please? Johan?
What a wonderful location. What a wonderful location for such a charming and beautiful photograph. There's two things that I felt were a little bit distracting. One was the white light coming onto the underside of their faces distracted me from what was actually happening, which was a kiss. And then having the flowers over the groom's back took away from the groom. It makes it look like a growth there, and you lose the involvement with each other. But it's such a wonderful setting, and there's so much to explore with it. Yeah, that was my thoughts.
Thanks, Johan. And that
And congratulations too.
Simone wanted to say something.
Yeah, sorry. Johan did a fantastic job of that. I just thought I'd just pop out couple of bits. There's just a couple of specular highlights just on the floorboards that just got my eye was a little bit. But I'm also wondering about maybe even changing a pose up from just saying, okay, bride and groom kiss. Sometimes something else, some other kind of connection, sometimes can give you a bit more level of imagination and creativity to think about that as well. But congratulations on your silver.
Thanks, Simone. That concludes the 2025 Asia Pacific Photography Awards wedding category. A huge congratulations to our top 10 image makers. Well done to everybody that entered the category, and a massive thank you to our judging panel.